doesn't go to preseason, obviously, because it's garbage to drive up there for preseason. So he's like, put these out there. So the guy, his assistant, the chick that he's probably banging, is oh shit, is that recording?
Let's get loaded. Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
We never finish first because we finish last.
Thank you for tuning in to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben. That is DJ, and DJ is probably right now praying that his coworkers are not listening to this podcast.
Nobody can listen to that because I didn't think that we were recording there.
Oh, that's the beauty of starting the recording.
Can we edit that out?
We can maybe edit that out. So if you're hearing this, it's been a mistake. But like I said, I am Ben. That is DJ. We are back. We are listening to...
I'm not sharing this episode at all.
You don't want to do what?
I'm not going to share this episode with anybody.
Oh, that's totally fine. Yeah, we're doing our fantasy football rankings episodes, wide receivers, 13 through 24. So this is the first episode that we've broken into the wide receivers. We've done quarterbacks, we've done running backs, and DJ, you are probably still on cloud 9 from our last guest when we had Ben Albright on.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking amazing. But, I mean, I was the one getting shit on the whole time.
It was. Me and him teamed up against you, and it was just brilliant. I loved every single thing about that episode.
I do like being double team, though.
Oh, gosh. But, yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, we talked football, we talked alcohol, we talked controversy, we talked everything with Ben Albright, and it was a fantastic episode. So if you haven't heard that one, make sure you check it out.
If there is any random, yelling or noises, I'm live watching Ricky and Tiger right now, so on the PGA Championship, that could get, if you hear that, just know that's what it is.
Yep, because DJ's a big golf fan.
Love golf.
Well, in case you missed it or haven't seen it yet, make sure you get qualified to win the Odell Beckham Jr. autograph mini helmet that we are giving away. Follow us on Twitter at LoadedBox. Find the tweet with the details of the contest, retweet that tweet, and then tag a friend to get entered in to win. So we teamed up with the guys from Pristine Auction for that giveaway, so make sure you're following them as well. They have daily auctions packed with tons of stuff for the man cave. They guarantee their items as they all come with certificates of authenticity from only the trusted sources. It's also affordable. Most people don't think you can get signed stuff for your man cave affordable, but you can do it more than you'd think. It's quick, free, and easy to register, free to bid. You only pay when you win. So make sure you also mention the Loaded Box podcast in the How Did You Hear About Us section when you register. So head over to pristineauction.com. That's pristine, Pristine, auction.com. You know what I'm thinking? Pristine doesn't think our listeners are that intelligent.
Yeah, that's why you have to spell is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I love when you do the ad read because I can just zone out and watch this golf for a minute.
There you go. Well, as I had said, we're talking wide receivers, fantasy football, numbers 13 through 24. We'll go through our rankings, and then we'll dive in a little bit on each individual player. So, DJ, why don't you kick us off with your rankings?
All right. Alrighty, Whitey. At 24, I have Amari Cooper. 23, Brandon Cooks. 22, Golden Tate. 21, Robbie Anderson. 20, Marquise Goodwin. 19, Robert Woods. 18, Mr. Corey Davis. Moved him up one spot.
Oh my gosh, even higher.
17, Randall Cobb, Randy Cobb, if you want to call him that too. 16, Marvin Jones. 15, Allen Robinson. 14, Stephon Diggs. And 13, T.Y. Hilton.
All right, sounds good. I'll run through mine, and then we will dissect these players. So I've got 24, Juju Smith-Schuster. 23, Sammy Watkins. 22 is Allen Robinson. 21, Larry Fitzgerald. 20, Golden Tate. 19, Josh Gordon. 18, T.Y. Hilton. 17, Brandon Cooks. 16, Jarvis Landry. 15 is Alshon Jeffrey. 14, Stephon Diggs. And 13, Tyreek Hill. So, DJ, let's start with your number 24, and let's talk about whether or not we'll dissect the player a little bit, our feelings on them, and then we'll talk about whether or not we would target or avoid them at that current ADP.
All right. So I have Amari Cooper. coming in at 2024. ADP of 4.01. That puts him at wide receiver 15, being drafted this year. So I'm a little lower on him. Again, I've mentioned this a few times, but we watch. Gruden just wants to play football from 15 years ago, and that's my main nerves when it comes to Amari Cooper. So I think he is a little bit overdrafted. Once they get Gruden out of there after this year and they don't win many games, then I'll be really good with Amari Cooper. It's not a talent standpoint. I think he's good. I think Derek Carr is really good. I think they have two talented young guys that are going to, they put on a display a couple of years ago. I think they're going to continue to do that. I'm just worried about this offense. I think John Gruden's only going to let Derek Carr give it to Lynch, Jordy, whoever's the oldest person on the team gets to have the ball that game.
Old people only. Wait,
yes.
Did you claim that John Gruden's going to be out after this year?
Yes.
Is he going to die, or what's going to happen there?
They can't have him there. After they go 4-12 because they ran the ball, 74 times a game, they're going to be all right, we can't have this shit. I'm nervous to watch them. I'm scared they're going to get last in the West. And that would be pretty bad because the Broncos are really bad.
Yeah, I'd be a little scared they might get last in the West as well, because I think it's a competitive division, but I'm super high on Cooper compared to you. I'm actually going to talk about him in our next episode because I have him ranked number 12. I'm all about Amari Cooper. I don't have his ADP down because I wasn't planning on talking about him today, but I think he's technically ranked around wide receiver 15 to 17 range.
I just told you. You weren't listening. He's wide receiver number 15 where he's getting drafted.
Oh, maybe that's where I heard that from. I must have been.
ADP's 4.01.
I must have been listening.
Jesus Christ.
No, I think that's a fantastic ADP for him because I think people cooled down a little bit on him after last year. You going to say something?
No, I was agreeing with the fact that people have cooled down on him, but I think it's I don't know what the word is. I think it's correct. I think that people should be cooling down because of this offense. I feel like if they brought in somebody else, maybe I'd be a little more excited. I'm just worried about John Gruden. I'm really worried about that staff.
I'm going to talk more.
Running that offense.
I'll talk more about Cooper in my next episode when I've had the appropriate amount of time to prep it. But based on what I have from right now, I think his floor is a mid-level wide receiver too. I'm pretty confident in Cooper right now. He has all the talent in order to do it. Last year, the Raiders' offense just never really clicked, and I think that another year with Carr, getting Cooper in there, I don't think Gruden's going to be as big of a problem as you think he is. I think that team will take a little bit of a step forward offensively, and I think Cooper's going to be a big part of that. So, yeah, I have him at the tail end as a wide receiver 1, and I'll talk more about it in the next episode, but definitely not low on Cooper. I would target him.
He finished as wide receiver 31 last year.
Yep, but, buy low, baby.
I don't know. I don't know what there is to get overly excited about.
I legit think
this jump you think it's going to be.
I legit think that Cooper at some point is just going to end up being a really consistent guy. He's going to be that next kind of Larry Fitzgerald, where he's not going to have a huge boom weeks all the time, but he's just going to get the job done week to week to week.
All right, Drake. On to the next one. Number 23, I have Brandon Cooks. Again, he's going actually right after Amari Cooper, which I think is kind of surprising. But he's going at 4.06 is his ADP. Wide receiver number 16, Ben.
Thanks, I heard that time.
Let's see. Last year, he finished with, the most targets on the Patriots, all that good stuff. Now he's coming into an offense that's already he was wide receiver 7 last year. He's coming into an offense now where they've got some set pieces that they like. And Todd Gurley, obviously, Robert Woods is a guy who had some really good weeks when he was healthy and has really good rapport with Jared Goff. Cooper Kupp's just going to be another year better and a really solid rookie season for a short white guy. So I think it's going to be hard for him to come in and just kind of take all those targets away from those guys. So I don't think you're going to see the same targets that he's got I don't think you're going to see near the same targets that he got with the Patriots and Tom Brady, just because there's more weapons on that team that they like. Todd Gurley's going to get a lot of those. Robert Woods is, I don't think, going to get any less. Cooper Kupp's just going to go up. So Brandon Cooks, just overall targets are going to come down. So I think that's just naturally going to bring his numbers down. That's why I'm dropping him to 23 in this situation. I think he's also being a little bit overrated here going into the year. He's a guy I'm staying away from at that area. I think there's some other guys I would like to get. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's going after him. I like Josh Gordon this year. Again, I'll talk about him. I know I like Allen Robinson. There's a lot of guys. Randall Cobb's probably going way after him. Again, I like Corey Davis, who I'm going to talk about a lot, who I'm going to reach for a little bit. But a lot of guys I like more than I like. Brandon Cook, I think they seem to be safer options. They aren't coming into a brand new situation that's already like got receivers in a group.
So you've got Cooks 23.
23.
I got Cooks 17. Like you said, his ADP puts him as the 16th ranked receiver. I think that's probably properly ranked. Cooks, when I look at Cooks, that's a guy that I could take or leave. I don't have a huge feeling one way or the other on him. I'll be okay if I get him, and I won't be like distraught if I don't end up with him in a league. So you look at Cooks though, like consistently throughout his year, or throughout the history of Cooks playing with Patriots and the Saints, as you had mentioned, he's just been consistent. When you look at his year-end totals, he's always produced pretty well. But that was with Drew Brees and Tom Brady. And while I think Jared Goff is an all right quarterback, I don't think he's Drew Brees or Tom Brady caliber. But that LA Rams offense is propping everyone up a little bit higher, and I think that's where you could justify taking him in the mid-4th round. So not going out of my way to target him, not avoiding him. I think he's literally one of the most properly ranked receivers you can find.
I'm low on him. Lower than most people.
Yep.
All right.
Next.
Number 22, I've got Golden Tate. I think this is another guy I think is supremely underrated. Where is he going? And I might even have him ranked a little bit low.
He's going wide receiver 26 right now.
Wide receiver 26? Shit, I got him at 27, 6.03 is what I'm looking at. Really underrated. Again, that's a guy I would take. I mean, obviously, I have him ranked ahead of him. So a guy I would take ahead of Brandon Cooks. I like a lot. Him and Stafford have good rapport. I love that word. I'll use that at least 10 times today.
Yes, that's a good one.
They're on the same page. I mean, consistently. I think Marvin. Let's see here. Just trying to look up to see where he finished last year because I'm pretty sure both of them were inside he finished 19 with Marvin Jones finishing at 5. So they both finished, he finished as a wide receiver 2, Marvin Jones finished as a wide receiver 1. I expect very similar stuff from where he finished last year. It was 100 or 1,000, just over 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. I would expect almost the exact same numbers there. I mean, he's a very consistent, very savvy veteran wide receiver. Works really well in the slot. He's a guy, I think you spoke about Larry Fitzgerald, who's just as consistent as him.
Right.
So that's a guy that I want as like a wide receiver 2 on my team if I can get him. And if you can get him at 6th round where he's going,
yep.
Shit, you have him at a flex wide receiver, especially so let's say you have the last pick in the 1st round. So you've got the 12th pick of the 1st round and the 2nd pick, and you have somebody there like Julio Jones and Michael Thomas, or Julio Jones and Keenan Evans. You take those two, you just slam running backs for the next.
Keenan Evans, doesn't he play basketball for Texas Tech?
Who did I say? Keenan Evans?
Yeah.
Keenan Allen. I meant to say. I probably mixed him up in Mike Evans as I was looking. You take those two, and then you grab a bunch of running backs, and then you come back in the 6th round and get fucking
Golden Tate
as your flex. Jesus Christ, you're set.
Yeah.
Set. You just have to slam those running backs, but that's just like you can wait on that wide receiver if Golden Tate just keeps the ball like that. It's beautiful, and he's gonna put up good numbers. I mean, they're gonna be a consistent player. I feel like I have him ranked too low, to be honest with you, and he's going in the 6th round just because he's a boring name to people.
Right. I've got him ranked 20th. I think that's properly ranked. I thought maybe I was a little too high on Tate, but kind of like what you're saying, I kind of like the Lions' offense, and I think Tate's going to lead all the pass catching options. If you saw any of the preseason game, they played the Raiders, and Kerryon Johnson looked pretty damn good in that first action. So hopefully they get him going. Hopefully they get LeGarrette Blount going, and hopefully that opens up the pass game even more. But when you look at Stafford's career, ever since Calvin's left, it's been Golden Tate. He's had over 90 receptions and 1,000 yards. Each of the last 4 years, I take that back. He actually, one of those years, he did have less than 1,000 yards. But his downfall in his entire career has been the touchdown totals. He's only got 9 over the last 2 seasons, and his career high is 7. But yeah, dude, he's a consistent guy, and I would target him even as a wide receiver too. In your scenario there, if you go receiver, tons of running backs, and then you try to get your 3rd wide receiver in the 6th, I would love it. I think it's a good pairing, especially you could get Stafford a little bit later as well. I
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
mind that draft strategy at all. I think that'd be legit.
yeah. I mean, I like again. I love that 12 pick, so that's a great strategy at that. I don't want to give too much away, so I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna talk myself and everybody know me what I'm doing.
Next.
21, Robbie Anderson. Is he even on the radar in this world? Is that high? He might be. As long as he can stay out of trouble. This guy is a talented wide receiver. He's going in the 8th freaking round. 8th round. Who was his quarterback even last year? McCown?
McCown, Petty.
So he's got Sam Darnold, which one of the top 2, I think, most QB ready rookies. Or NFL ready rookie quarterbacks. He's got Teddy Bridgewater, who could potentially be the quarterback. I think he's got a couple talented, underrated quarterbacks coming in there. And this guy, I mean, is immensely talented. You saw him, it seemed like week 12 and beyond, just kind of tear it up. He finished as wide receiver number 16 last year.
Yeah.
I expect you to see, let me see, I just look and see, him to get off to a better start early in the year, 941 yards, 7 touchdowns. To break that 1,000 mark, go around the 7 to 8 touchdowns again, and finish around that same spot. This guy, like I said, as long as he doesn't get in trouble, maybe that's what's scaring people, because that's what he does. He gets in a little bit of trouble. As long as he doesn't, though, this guy's a supremely talented, very athletic wide receiver that I think people are just kind of scooting by.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson flies under the radar. When one of my articles that I did, I think it was like a week or so ago, I was talking about AFC East, a guy from each team in the AFC East that you should target and avoid based on ADP. And when I got to the Jets, it's literally hard to avoid anyone based on ADP because they're all so low. But the guy that I said that you should target was Robbie Anderson, just because he is that go-to probably receiver on that team, and you're getting him in the 8th. And the Jets, I mean, not to be too mean because I'm a Dolphins fan, they're probably going to end up around the same spot this year, but they're going to be playing from behind more often than not. So that means there's going to be a lot of balls thrown through the air, and Robbie Anderson's been the guy that can do it. Yeah, if he stays healthy, if he stays out of trouble, getting him in the 8th round is not bad. I don't have him ranked in my top 24, so I don't have too much more on him. But yeah, 8th round, I think that's solid value.
Yeah, it's really, really solid value, especially since I have him ranked as 21.
Right. So. You've got some pretty wild receiver rankings, though, so we'll get into them here as we move forward.
I'm all over the place. I went through and I looked and I didn't go with the fucking norm of what people usually do. You know, I have Larry Fitzgerald outside my top 24. I've got a couple other guys I'm not thinking of right now inside my top 24. Jarvis Landry. So, and lots of guys I moved in there that I think are going to have. This is, you know what? When it comes to fantasy football, it's about what you want. So get the guys that you want and don't fret. Don't worry about it. Get the guys you want. I'm not going to fucking make other rankings lower because other people have guys lower.
Yeah, no, you got to get your guys. That's why we play the game.
That's why they play the game. At 20, I have to do a deeper dive in this, but I have Marquise Goodwin. This is a short sample. I mean, we have a short sample size on him. We have him in Buffalo, where he's just kind of a speed demon. Now in San Francisco, where he seemed to be like Jimmy's go-to wide receiver last year. Hoping that he can continue that and build off that. I expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be a pretty solid quarterback. Not great right away. He did have, I think 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in the games that he played. Everybody thought he had like 20 touchdowns. It seemed like everybody's acting like he threw 25 touchdowns in 5-7 games or whatever the fuck he was. He threw like 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But I expect obviously Marquise Goodwin to be the number 1 wide receiver. I expect Jimmy Garoppolo to improve. He's very good looking. He banged a porn star. So those are all very positive things in my eyes.
He's got a lot going for him right now.
He's got a lot going for him. Now he's got a speedy, sexy wide receiver. This is just purely off of gut, really. I'm probably overrating him a little bit at this point. Where is he going as well? See, I usually am grabbing this and going, he's probably going somewhere around those. Yeah, I can't find him right now. My eyes are searching too quickly to actually run across his little body. But, again, this is just a gut. This isn't based off of numbers. This is him being the number 1 target in San Francisco, where I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a solid quarterback. A team that I think is going to be in a lot of shootouts. A guy that likes to throw the ball downfield, and I think he's him at the end. At the receiving end of those, 7.05 is his ADP. Wide receiver number 32. So I'm clearly about 10, 11 spots higher on him.
Yeah,
Curious to hear your thoughts on him.
I'm a lot closer to where his ADP is. I don't have him in my top 24, but I like him. I liked Marquise Goodwin coming out of Texas. I had really high hopes for him. He just kind of got into some weird situations where there wasn't a lot of receivers in Buffalo there right before he went to the 49ers that were really producing anyways. And I think with Goodwin, I really feel like you need another guy on the other side to be like the true number one, and then let him be like the second or third receiver option. That's where I think he could thrive. That's why I was all about the 49ers trying to get a guy like Allen Robinson. I thought pairing Allen Robinson with Marquise Goodwin would have been like the ideal thing, because Allen Robinson is like that alpha wide receiver one. He's going to command some safety help, and man, you're going to forget about Goodwin on the other side, especially when you have Kittle running through the middle. Kittle through the middle. I like that. It might be my fantasy name.
That's your new fantasy team name.
But I think just Goodwin can burn, and he's become a better route runner as his time has come on. So I like him, not nearly as high as you do. I'm probably right there with his ADP, a guy that I wouldn't mind having because, I think the 49ers offense, I think we need to temper our expectations like you've been telling people. I do agree with that to an extent. But it seems like him and Jimmy Garoppolo have a pretty good rapport. Your word of the day.
Yeah, don't steal that shit.
On just limited time though, so I'm not opposed to it.
I don't know why he can't be a more consistent Tyreek Hill.
Right.
I don't know why he can't be that. So
right.
That's kind of like people have Tyreek Hill ranked up there. I'm lower on Tyreek Hill, higher on Goodwin, who I think is a better version of Tyreek Hill.
He's got better hands.
Better hands. Yeah, I mean,
not as many off the field issues.
Runner in general, yeah. So I don't understand why he can't be a better version of Tyreek Hill. So I'm planning on that.
I like that. That's a bold fantasy ranking. I like it.
Yeah, big balls.
Big balls. Next.
My wife always says you have big old nutties.
It ain't long, but it sure is skinny.
Yeah. At number 19, I have Robert Woods coming in. Again, I'm ranking these guys that are way lower in these people's ADPs. He's wide receiver, going as wide receiver 38, ADP of 8.12. This is another fucking guy I'm going to love grabbing in the 7th round before anybody else does.
It's a really aggressive sentence.
What is this telling you? These guys are going round 8. Just this group of guys right here, I'm looking in the round 8. Devin Funchess, Randall Cobb, Robbie Anderson, Robert Woods. I think all have the potential to be wide receiver 2 this year. They're going in the 8th round.
You're going to end up drafting 6 running backs and then taking all your receivers in the 8th, 9th, and 10th round.
And that's the thing. You can do that. Like, if you need to if your strategy at, like, number 1 or whatever is just hammer running backs or number 3 or number 6, it doesn't matter. You can hammer running backs and you can have a solid bunch of wide receivers in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. You can grab 5 fucking running backs if you want to.
I know. I like a lot of these receivers that we're talking about in these rounds. I really do.
Yeah. And the wide receiver position is so deep in comparison to the running back position. I mean, I'm ranking these guys way up there, but I can sit back and wait on them because I don't need to grab them where I have them ranked because I can see their ADP and I know I can grab them a round or 2 earlier than what they're going, and I'm still getting them at a great value in my opinion.
Right.
So Robert Woods, who's a consistent guy, who was an awesome pickup if you picked him up in free agency last year before he got a little injured, but he had a nice little run of about 4 games where him and just in general, he seemed like a go-to guy on 3rd down for Jared Goff, and I think they're going to continue that to be in sync like that, like the band. So I really like Robert Woods as a wide receiver. I heard lots of stuff about him going into the season last year. I just didn't believe. I was like, no fucking way can I be drafting Robert Woods. Like, he just hasn't done anything. And it looks like maybe he just wasn't – I mean, he played in Buffalo. So,
right.
I mean, you get out of Buffalo, you can actually show who you are, clearly. So I'm supremely higher on him. He's way underrated in my opinion. A guy I'm definitely going to try to get a round or 2 earlier if I'm in the market for a wide receiver at that position, which I might not be. But a guy that you can definitely grab as a core of wide receivers that you can plug in and out based on matchups who can be a wide receiver 2 for you. You can have like 4 wide receiver 2 on your numbers on your team, and that'll put up some solid weeks, and you can be great.
Yeah, once again, this guy did not make my top 24, as you seem to have a lot of those guys that I don't have in there. But I'm probably a little bit higher on him than where you said his ADP was, though, for sure, because I think we share some
Yeah,
similar feelings on Robert Woods. Man, if you had Sammy Watkins last year in that offense, you were pissed at the
yeah,
production that Robert Woods was putting up. Because Woods, I mean, we think about Woods when his time in Buffalo, we think about him as kind of like a third down possession, route running technician. Like that's what he was. Like he was just a guy that could get it done on third downs, and he was just a guy that you could rely on. Well, in LA, he was that, but then he was also breaking like long touchdowns, like
yeah.
more often than the touchdowns I thought Sammy Watkins was going to be getting were
He
going
had
to
like a
Robert
99
Woods.
yarder at one point.
Yeah, he had some monster touchdowns. So it's like I don't know how you can't like the guy when he was outperforming Woods. And I agree with what you said earlier about Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to take a step forward. I think Gurley's going to keep getting targets. I do like Cooks a little bit, but yeah, there's room for Woods, especially at that ADP. So yeah, not low on him by any means. Just don't have too much more on him because he's not in my top 24 today.
See, I think Robert Woods is their number one receiver personally, but they did pay
Yeah,
Brandon Cooks a lot of money.
they just paid
But I
him
just-
and they can get out of
I
his
know, but
contract
they
after
love
this
him.
year.
Like their plan going into last year was what I heard was he was going to be like the focal part of their wide receivers, which he seemed to be. Like they like him, they want to be able to use him. Sean McVay is still a big fan of him, so I'm not going to go against that at all because you did see that like turn out pretty well for you if you grabbed him. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that team this year, man. They look good on paper. I'll give them that.
Yeah, man. Was that John Gruden?
Yeah, man.
At 18, I have Corey Davis, and I love Corey Davis this year. Love him. Going at wide receiver 29, ADP of 6.09. I think you're going to, obviously, as I've said over and over again, he wasn't healthy going into the season and never really got healthy. Was in an offense where Marcus Mariota kind of struggled. They struggled overall. But I think Marcus, obviously, Mariota will bounce back. I think Corey Davis, you're going to see after his rookie year, like what you thought you were going to see coming into his rookie year. I know you were super high on him last year. I'm always lower on rookie wide receivers. It takes that year to figure out cornerbacks, physicality, defensive schemes, where to go. You got to find holes. Got to get on the same link as your quarterback. So there's a lot of things that he had to learn, and rookie wide receivers have to learn in their first year that they just haven't seen. It's just a whole other level of craziness. In college, you're running, fake fly, read options, one read, and then you're in a hole. You're like just one look and throw it to that guy and you're open. And this is different. Corey Davis is going to figure it out. Great route runner. I think you'll see him go over 1,000 yards and have 6 to 7 touchdowns with Mariota.
Yeah.
Plus that offensive line is really solid. So Mariota's going to have time to find Corey Davis out there on that field. And I mean, what other targets really are there? It's what's his name that's still there?
Rashard Matthews and
Rashard Matthews.
Yeah.
And then you've got Delaney Walker at tight end. But I mean, Rashard Matthews doesn't worry me. Between the 20s, it's going to be Corey Davis, and he's going to get his share of touchdowns. He's going to show off the athleticism and the skills that he has coming in to 2018. I'm really excited about Corey Davis. Way high on him. If I don't get him in like 3 or 4 leagues, I'm going to be very upset.
Right. Yeah, you've been too high on him to not end up with him, so you need to have him in some leagues. The nice thing about guys like Corey Davis and Delaney Walker is the fact of what happened last year. You had Mariota throw, I think it was like 12 touchdowns the entire season. So you talk about like regression of touchdowns. You have a guy that like Kenny Stills 2 years ago and he had 9 touchdowns. You're like, well, he's not touching that again. But then you have these guys like that year Mike Evans had 3 touchdowns. And then last year when Corey Davis really had hardly had any, based a lot on injury. But a lot of these times, like you don't consistently get 12, 13, 15 touchdowns. So those are the elite guys.
Yep.
After that, you see a lot of regression and progress, I guess, on the opposite end of that spectrum with receivers. And I think that could be something we see out of guys like Delaney Walker and Corey Davis this year. And you guys know, if you've listened to the podcast before, last year around this time, man, I was Mr. Corey Davis supporter. Like I needed him in every single league. And it kind of backfired. It sucked. And I probably overdrafted him a bit and learned a valuable lesson in the meantime. But in some of these playoff drafts that I was in, I took him in when they played the Patriots, and he basically willed me to victory. He had 2 touchdowns in that game, and I think he's not going to get you 2 touchdowns every game, but that kind of performance, what he was able to do against that secondary, that's what he's capable of doing. We just didn't see it on a consistent basis.
Out in the playoffs in general.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I love Corey Davis. You can't ever talk me out of him. So I'm with you.
Yeah. At number 17, I'm moving on. I've got Randall Cobb of the Green Bay Packers. So, obviously, we're assuming Aaron Rodgers is healthy this year, which is a great assumption. With him and Devontae being the only veteran wide receivers in this, like veteran wide receivers who have played with him for a few years. So Jimmy Graham's obviously veteran tight end / wide receiver, whatever he is, who he's going to be targeted. But you get Aaron Rodgers playing with a guy that he trusts, Randall Cobb, for a full year. I mean, you could see two wide receivers again with 1,000 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns for Cobb and over 10 touchdowns for Devontae. 17, this guy is he's way underrated, way undervalued going into this season. Rodgers, if you know anything about Aaron Rodgers, he loves, having trust in guys. And he has trust in Randall Cobb. And when you get down in that red zone, down inside the 20, down inside the 10-yard line, when he's moving around, Randall Cobb's a guy who knows how to move and knows what Rodgers is thinking because he's played with him for so long. You're going to get a good amount of touchdowns from him. Maybe not long, but you're going to get touchdowns. You're going to get a good amount of touchdowns just because of his ability to move around in the red zone. And Cobb is one of those guys he trusts. And he's one of those guys he trusts on third down. So he's going to get a fair amount of targets, fair amount of receptions every game. He's somebody that I can't believe is going in the 8th round, 7th pick at wide receiver 36. They forget that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL, and his number 2 wide receiver, his number 2 target is going to be Randall Cobb. I really think it is. I know Jimmy Graham's there, but the guy he's looking at number 2 after Devontae is going to be Randall Cobb. There's no doubt in my mind. He can support 2 wide receivers inside the top 12. He's done it multiple times with Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson. He can continue to do that. Craig Jennings and Jordy Nelson. That's what he does. So there's no reason to think that he won't be a wide receiver 2 at worst.
So, kind of sounded like the common denominator was Jordy Nelson, but I know know that's not going to happen.
Devontae Adams is now the common denominator.
He's the denominator now.
Yeah.
No, when you look at Cobb's ADP in the 8th, it almost seems like a steal. I think when you look at Cobb, he's primarily going to be. He's not going. I don't think he's going to get you huge touchdowns, but and if you got 8 to 10 from the, I meant like a huge number. But if you're getting him in the 8th round, 8 to 10 touchdowns would be awesome. That'd be unbelievable out of an 8th round guy. What scares me about Cobb is I think what most people's concern would be is how many times does he really put together a full season? But
right about his little ankle injury.
Yeah, the only thing about that though is if you're getting him in the 8th, you're not relying on him every week anyways. So if he gets hurt,
you're
whatever.
You're gonna be though, because he's gonna be fucking awesome.
Well, if he's healthy, by all means throw him in there. But it's not like you're using a 3rd rounder on him where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that I'm only able to play him 12 out of the 14 weeks or 15, 16, whatever your fantasy league goes. But I'm with you. I don't have much more because he's not in my top 24. But 8th round seems all right for me.
Yeah, all right. Number 16, Marvin Jones. So I have 2 Detroit Lions inside the top 24. This is a team I think is just going to continue to throw the ball a ton. I don't think your Kerryon Penis is going to be as high as what you think he's going to be. I don't know why we think they're just going to stop running because they're going to be behind. They rely on Stafford. Stafford loves throwing the ball. They're just going to continue to do that. I don't imagine this offense changing. Marvin Jones finished at wide receiver 6. Obviously, I expect 5. Sorry, I expect regression out of Marvin Jones. So I did drop. I'm not going to put him inside the top 10. He had 1,101 yards, 9 touchdowns. 1,101 was too hard for me to say, so I just got to change to 1,101. And 9 tutties. I expect both those numbers to drop a little bit, but to still remain in the wide receiver 2 area. So 16 dropping about 10 spots, I think is pretty fair. Where is Mr. Marvin Jones going here? He's going wide receiver 24. So I'm a little bit higher on him. I think he's about properly rated. He's about my first properly rated guy. Wide receiver 24. Pick number their ADP of 5.08. It's just about volume. They're going to throw the ball a ton, so you can't hate it. Volume is a lot. So when the ball's going to be in the air consistently between Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, you got to expect that they're going to put up pretty solid numbers. I mean, there's not much to say about them. I think they're both going to be consistent guys who are guys you want in your team as someone you can rely on from week to week to score 12 points or something like that. So both guys I really like in that offense just because they throw a ton.
See, I don't have Jones in that top 24. I think we just talked about regression candidates, and I think I could see his yards and his touchdowns both dropping. I would rather have Tate in the 6th for sure than Marvin Jones in the 5th. So when it comes to Marvin Jones, I'm right around probably where his ADP is. I might actually be even a little bit lower than most people are. So I would probably avoid him. I don't imagine myself ending up with him, but a big part of that is just because I think he's a prime regression candidate. He's finished as a wide receiver 1 last year. I don't think there's a chance he finishes as a wide receiver 1 this year. So I think he's going to end up getting overdrafted because of that, and I'm going to pass on him.
Okay, then.
That's what it is, man. I'm not going to have him. I'm not having that.
Yeah, I guess I don't. I agree with the regression, but I don't think it's what the regression is going to be that dramatic where he's not worth your pick in where he's being drafted.
I might have been too mean. I don't mind Marvin Jones. I think he's a good receiver. I just think I think he did too good fantasy wise last year to just. I think he's going to get bumped up. I just don't see myself being able to pick him right now. And I'm also a Kenny Golladay guy, so.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Kenny Golladay yet. Number 15, I have Allen Robinson.
There's your boy.
What?
This is your boy.
Well, I'm going purely off of what I saw from him a couple years back with Blake Bortles and how he did. I expect that to come back. And I think that this offense is just going to open up and explode. I personally just think this offense is going to put up great numbers. I mean, between Allen Robinson being the number 1 target, I think Jordan Howard and Tarek Cohen are going to be solid. Maybe Anthony Miller will be pretty good. He looks really good right now in camp. I don't give a fuck about Kevin White, so he's just going to get injured at some point. They're talking about him again. It's like fucking put that shit on.
Yeah, you got to stop talking about Kevin White. Go to Shaheen and Trey Burton if you're going to go to another player, you know?
Yeah, I think Trubisky's the right quarterback, and I think you're going to really see it, and they're going to open it up here with Matt Nagy. So I'm excited about this offense. I think he's going to explode onto the scene. I think he's going to have 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, I potentially can see him as a wide receiver 1. I honestly, truly believe that. I'm really excited about Allen Robinson. He's supremely underrated where he's going. Wide receiver 22, 5.05. Again, I don't blame those people. They haven't seen him play for, a couple of years here. Don't know what that offense is going to be. He was playing for the Bears, so you don't get overly excited about that. I'm just going based off of my thoughts on that offense going to be explosive. If you don't believe that, then whatever. This is what I believe, and I will fight you about it all season.
Well, this is where you're going to have to decide whether or not you agree with myself or DJ, because I've got Robinson 22, so I think that's properly valued because I have him ranked right where his ADP is. But if I'm on the board here and he's the next receiver up, I don't know. I might go a different direction, like either lower in my rankings or to the next position, because we're talking about a brand new team. We're talking about a second-year quarterback, and we're talking about a wide receiver coming off of a leg injury. So, yeah, this fantasy season, I'm going to pass on Robinson. I want to see him do it this next year, and then I'll try maybe in 19. What I'm thinking here, though, is if I pass on him, what am I really missing out on? Because in my opinion, I think Robinson's ceiling with the Bears is like a mid-level wide receiver 2. So I don't think I'm passing on this huge game changer. So I'm not even sure if Allen Robinson in that offense, I'm still not 100% sold on Trubisky. I don't know if he's going to even be able to provide you consistent week-to-week numbers. So going in the 5th round, that's probably something you're going to want. That could be your wide receiver 2. I'm going to go a different direction.
Let's not forget that Allen Robinson, when he was playing, was one of the best route runners we've seen. Number 2, he can go up in high point and attack the ball with the best of them.
Super
the combination of those two gets me extremely excited that he's back. He's similar to what DeAndre Hopkins brings to the table, and we forget about that. We're forgetting about that. He's that similar talent. He's got the speed. He's an incredible route runner, and he can go up and attack the ball with any wide receiver in the NFL, and definitely over these, shorter cornerbacks who I don't know why we aren't getting taller cornerbacks in the game. We've got a few more of those, but he's going to make some cornerbacks look real bad just with, if he's not wide open, he's going to jump over you and catch the ball. I think we're all forgetting how supreme, how good he was of a route runner, and that separates somebody from me as well.
Yeah, I just think this is like I let off my talk with on him. This is something you're going to decide. Do you believe with what DJ's going or me? Because I think we're on opposite ends of the spectrum on this one. I just need to see it. Coming, new team, new quarterback, coming off of injury. I need to see it. I don't want to invest a fifth round pick on something like that.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. At number 14, second to last, I have, and I hate to say it, I have Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to be the number one target. Obviously, I think Thielen finished higher than him last year.
They were really close to each other, yeah.
They were really close. Let me look here.
Wait, why do you hate to say it? Because you just don't want to have a Viking ranked that high?
Correct.
Okay.
So Thielen was 11 and Dickhead was 17. I think you'll see those numbers switch. I don't think they're going to be as pass happy as like what people are predicting. He had 849 and 8 touchdowns, but I do believe that he will be the number one target on this team. I don't imagine. I think you'll just see Thielen's numbers naturally regress, but I think he's going to benefit most from the play action, from them running. Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to be in love with them. People are already freaking out about this goddamn preseason game with the throw to him and his touchdown. So,
right.
I mean, I think, yeah, Stephon. I even think Stephon was the number one wide receiver last year. Really, he just didn't have as good as numbers, but he's the number one go-to guy. I expect him to put up a solid season. I don't want to say too many good things about him.
That's such a great point, though, you made about like preseason. You see all of a sudden, it's the first drive, Cousins to Diggs, and like fantasy players, like, oh my God, like that's going to be happening all year. And you see David Njoku go for 2 touchdowns, like, holy shit, we got to get these guys.
That, actually.
It's like you want to see good things happen. I don't want to say scoring touchdowns is a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. But man, you can't put too much into that. That's my warning right now. Don't look too much into week 1 preseason. That's too early.
Don't look into preseason. Fuck that, dude. If you're basing some rankings off of preseason, I think you're seriously flawed.
Yeah, but
defenses are
these ADPs rise though. Every time someone does good in preseason, the casual fantasy fan is just going to bump them up.
Yeah. The thing that let's talk about preseason for a second. The thing that pissed me off the most is Njoku, number 1, scoring 2 touchdowns.
Right.
He was the only tight end I wanted to draft in like the 13th round. And the motherfucker goes and scored 2 touchdowns, and now he's going to shoot up to like 9th or 10th round, and now I can't have him.
Yep. Oh, the one tight end you were willing to draft.
Yeah. Number 2 is everybody's fucking got a boner over Baker Mayfield. Like Tyrod Taylor didn't come out and go 5 for 5 for 99 yards and a touchdown. It's like he didn't even exist.
I had the over-under set on 32 minutes when you were going to bring up Tyrod Taylor, and we're at the 42 minutes. So I'm proud of you for not bringing that up earlier.
Well, Jesus Christ! Like everybody, just relax. Number 1, and let's not forget that Tyrod is the starting quarterback. Everybody got a boner over Baker. Nothing excites me about Baker Mayfield.
Oh man, trust me, I was excited, but I'm excited for a different reason. I just didn't want him to look like shit. I'd rather have a player that I'm wanting to watch just not look terrible rather than look awesome in preseason.
Yeah, I guess it was just ridiculous. And then I went to the Packer game on Thursday night, and that Tim Boyle, the 4th quarterback,
oh yeah,
lit it up. That guy was destroying people. So you guys should put him on your radar for fantasy football this year as well.
I know.
He had an awesome week 1 of preseason.
I just bumped him right behind Wentz, so I'm good there. Good. What number was Diggs for you?
14, so I've got one more.
Oh, well, samesies on Diggs then, because I have him at 14th as well. His ADP, I believe you said, at wide receiver 11, going as the 7th pick in the 3rd round.
I actually didn't say it this time.
Oh, well, I got your back.
Thanks.
I personally think wide receiver 11 is a little high. I understand the upside that people are seeing now that he's playing with Cousins because, Cousins chucks it around. He hits big yardage totals. I get that. But Diggs only had 850 receiving yards last year, and he only played in 14 games. He did have 8 touchdowns, but half of those touchdowns came in the first 3 weeks. And you look at Diggs' entire career, never played a full 16-game season in 3 careers. He's never topped 1,000 yards. And he only had 7 career touchdowns before last year. So, I get the upside. I do kind of like Kirk Cousins. I'm not as crazy as some people around here. We live in the Wisconsin-Minnesota area, so we get a lot of Vikings Cousins love. But I like Stephon Diggs more as an actual NFL receiver than I do right now as a fantasy receiver. So with him going in the middle of the third round, I think I'd have to pass. I think wide receiver 11 is a little bit too high.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree. I think the passing numbers are going to drop, and I don't think Kirk Cousins is as good as what everybody believes he's going to be. But we'll see.
It'll be interesting. I have a feeling, I just think Cousins is in a better situation now. So even if he's not a top-tier quarterback, he's going to look probably even bit better because the Vikings have a better running game than the Redskins ever had, and they have got better targets on the outside than the Redskins ever had. So it's like if Cousins doesn't succeed here, then yeah, something's really wrong.
Lock it in. The Vikings have 10 wins or less.
Okay, that's a good season.
I think they were going to have 9, personally, but...
You just said lock it in at 10.
Or less.
Or less, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, who do you have in head of Diggs?
My last one, before you can start talking, I guess, is T.Y. Hilton. I have him at number... he's 13, right? That's our last one.
That'd be your last
number 13 is T.Y. Hilton. Guess who's back?
Back again.
Andrew Luck is back.
Tell
When
a
Andrew
friend.
Luck was healthy, T.Y. Hilton, you know better than anybody because you always drafted him.
Loved it.
In our touchdown leagues, he put up numbers, and he got long touchdowns, and he was a top 7 wide receiver. Well, Andrew Luck is back again, and we're all forgetting about, well, now we're not, actually, because ADP is now shot up to 10.
Right.
Properly ranked at this point, 3.04. I'm a huge T.Y. Fan with Andrew Luck back. You can put him right back to where you would have had him when he was with Andrew Luck, 2.5, 3 years ago or whatever it was.
Whoa.
Expect them to go right back to being on the same page. I'm excited to see those two happy again. I feel like they're gonna be happy again. They broke out for a little while,
Make it sound
and they're
like they died.
back in each other's arms, and they're gonna be smiling when they have their 70-yard touchdown in the first game, and everybody's gonna be crying. It's gonna be like they just got married and renewed their vows.
Andrew Luck's gonna be showing his big teeth
and his little mustache that he's got going now. It's just gonna be exciting. There's not much. I don't think I need to say much more than Andrew Luck is back, and you saw, what they used to be, and you should fully expect it to be the same thing.
Yeah.
There's nobody else threatening T.Y. Hilton for receptions anyway. So.
And Deion Kane just went down too with an ACL injury, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Not that he would have contended for Hilton's targets anyways, but just kind of sucks as if you already had your dynasty rookie draft, some people were probably a little bit happy about him based on early camp reports. So my condolences. But yeah, there's a receiver that I owe an apology to for my rankings. It's probably T.Y. Hilton because I have him ranked 18th.
We'll make a move.
Yeah, ever since Andrew Luck started throwing and actually played in a real game, though, Hilton's ADP jumped, and rightfully so. He's my top candidate in today's episode to make the highest jump in the next rankings updates that we do.
Oh, yeah.
But like I just talked about Diggs, Hilton's kind of another receiver that's been hindered by low touchdown totals when you talk about fantasy. But even last year without Luck, nearly 1,000 yards. And before that, 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. And he had 2 of those seasons over 1,300 yards. So he didn't even need to score touchdowns. He was getting you tons of yards.
Yeah.
So when you look at Hilton, on a week-by-week thing, I kind of feel like he has some down weeks now and then. But, man, he is like the ultimate boom receiver on some weeks that's actually going to win you some weeks. So with Hilton, quickly turning from a guy I wasn't going to touch at all to a guy that, like I said, man, he's going to jump up in my rankings, and I would not be mad about having him whatsoever.
You're going to be drafting him in touchdown league again this year, I guarantee it.
Probably just luck.
right back on the T.Y. Hilton train.
Right back into the swing of things. So he was your 13th.
Yep.
All right, so I will go through my rankings, the guys that you did not have ranked in your talk today here. So at number 24, I had Juju Smith-Schuster. He is going in the 7th pick in the 4th round, wide receiver 17. I think he's overvalued at wide receiver 17. I think that's too high for a wide receiver 2 on a team when you know that Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell are going to dominate touches. So I really like Juju. I had him in a league last year. It was a great free agent pickup. Not totally against having him at some point, but if you look at Juju Smith-Schuster's stats last year, they were drastically different when Antonio Brown was in and out of the lineup. So if AB were to somehow get hurt and Juju ends up becoming the man, then yeah, you got lucky with him. But man, as long as Le'Veon's there, as long as AB's healthy, you're not going to have those crushing weeks that he had last year. So I'm likely going to avoid him in the fourth round.
Yeah, I'm obviously low on Juju as I didn't have him inside my top 24. Again, you talked about the target monsters there. I'm actually more excited about, and I'm so excited about him, I can't remember his name.
James Washington?
James Washington. He came in with Landry, huh? So, I don't know. There's just something that doesn't get me excited about Juju Smith-Schuster. Maybe that's just a me issue, but he's not a guy I'm targeting. Again, and if like Roethlisberger does go down, which he does a lot, he's going to be almost irrelevant, right. I feel like, at that point. So that's just a guy that scares me on a team that scares me. I obviously you feel good with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell because they're going to get targets. Even better with Le'Veon Bell because if Roethlisberger does go down, then Le'Veon's still going to be a monster when it comes to that. But Juju, I don't know. I think there's just...
Juju doesn't do it for you.
No, he doesn't do it for me.
I know he doesn't do it. My number 23 guy is Sammy Watkins. He's going as the 7th pick in the 6th round, wide receiver 28. I think that's properly valued. Would say maybe a little bit undervalued, but there's just too much unknown right now with Mahomes, with Watkins' injury history, with him being on a new team. But midway through the 6th, I would probably take a chance on Watkins. You know he has wide receiver 1 talent. I'm not saying he's going to finish as a wide receiver 1 this year, but if he's healthy all year, he could easily finish as a legit wide receiver 2 that you're right now getting at wide receiver 3 cost. And I know it's only training camp, but the reports right now have Sammy Watkins like being that team's top target instead of Tyreek Hill. So I would rather have Sammy Watkins in the 6th than Tyreek in the 3rd, and for me, that's not even close. So I'm not opposed to having Watkins.
Personally, I don't want any wide receiver or anybody on the Chiefs this year, so I'm just going to avoid that offense in general, unless you can get great value out of somebody. But Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill, I have this feeling that like at some point this year, they're just going to be running the same route. They're just both going to be running a fly, and they're going to fight each other for a ball. Like, I just feel like that's going to happen. They're going to run right into each other like 10 different times. It's going to be great.
Another bold prediction. A really awkward one, though. I'm not quite sure how you even come about that theory.
Because they do the same thing. They just run deep. And they're both going to be running deep at the same time. And it's going to be incredible. I don't know. Sammy Watkins can't seem to find a home.
Well, you draft Watkins because he will come down with the jump ball over Tyreek Hill.
Remember, I told you Sammy Watkins is smaller now.
Oh, that's right, because he shaved his hair.
Yeah, he's not as big as he used to be. I don't know what happened between Buffalo to L.A., but he just drastically shrunk when he got to L.A. It was weird. So maybe he'll look better maybe he'll look bigger again in Kansas City, but if he's still small, I'm not touching him.
I totally forgot about your Sammy Watkins shrinking claim. That's a fantastic claim. Another guy here that you did not have is my 21st receiver. That's Larry Fitzgerald, going as the 1st pick in the 5th, wide receiver 21. Yeah, I think Larry's properly ranked there. I really like Fitzgerald with Sam Bradford. Both of those dudes have been around forever. I don't think it's going to take them too long to gel. Dude, you remember the numbers that Sam Bradford was putting up with Minnesota before getting hurt last year?
Sam Bradford?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that Bradford's going to duplicate those, but he was feeding Diggs. He was the one throwing Diggs all those touchdowns. Thielen was doing really good, and Bradford was likely going to end up with that position. Like, he was going to get his starting gig back, but how could they take out Keenum with like the winning streak they were on and just being in line for being one of the top seeds in the NFC? Like, you literally couldn't take him out.
Yeah, they wanted to bench him, though. They were just waiting.
They would not commit to Keenum. It was like a weekly thing for a while there.
That's why Keenum is garbage. Like, he's bad when the team wanted to get rid of him every week and then fucking traded him or let him go to another team the next year after getting to the NFC Championship on a miracle. Like, come on. That tells you something in itself. When it comes to Larry Fitzgerald, I'm an idiot, and I'm an ageist. I'll be the first one to tell you I am a direct offender of ageism because I did the same thing every single year with Frank Gore once he got past. Like, I'm like, this guy's gonna fall apart. Larry Fitzgerald is just too old for me. That's my analysis. He's too old, so I just don't get excited about him.
Larry Fitzgerald was old like 4 years ago, and he just keeps doing it.
I've got this piece in my head like he's just gonna be bad eventually. He's too fucking old, and maybe it all stems from fucking Peyton Manning's arm just turning into a goddamn like noodle. Like my son could outthrow Peyton Manning for that one season, and I just was like, I expect everybody else to do that same thing. I've probably got him ranked too low, but this is just based off of my dumb brain and Larry Fitzgerald being too old for me. I'm not going to be the guy that ends up with him.
I don't mind him. I wouldn't be opposed to having him, honestly. Like, it's crazy to say that. I'm with you, but I wouldn't be opposed to having Larry Fitzgerald. My 19th. I have a dumb brain when it comes to him. Well, you just don't like old people. So that's why you like my next guy, because I think he's going to be talked about in the next episode. But at 19, I've got Josh Gordon. He is going right now as the 8th pick in the 4th round. His ADP, ever since this whole pre-training camp announcement, he's now wide receiver 18. Josh Gordon's the biggest wild card in these rankings, in my opinion, because he was just wild card bitches. He was just wide receiver 12 literally like a couple of weeks ago, and now he's dropping because he's not at camp. So as this ADP drops, he becomes a little bit more enticing to me, but probably going to pass just because I still think the 4th round is a little too risky. And in that offense, I'd rather target a guy that you're going to get later, either Jarvis Landry or David Njoku, over Josh Gordon in the 4th.
I mean, they play different positions, Njoku and Josh Gordon, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about Josh Gordon, and I will be talking about him in the next episode. I don't know. He is dropping. I like to see that. I like him not being at camp right now. He'll be there. He'll be there soon enough, and we'll see it on Hard Knocks, and then he's going to do some crazy shit, and his ADP will probably pop right back up because Hard Knocks exists. That's what's going to happen.
Dude, Hard Knocks will jump up your fantasy draft stock faster than anyone.
I know. Like Jarvis Landry, I almost wanted to move up in my rankings for a second there, but and I remembered he's a locker room cancer.
Well, one, I have a beef with you because I can't believe you have the nerve to tell me that Josh Gordon and David Njoku play different positions, you asshole. not like I meant it that way. I'm talking about from a team standpoint. Like I'd rather have these guys from that team because I think that they're going to be more reliable pass catching options because I don't know if Josh Gordon's going to show up.
So he's going to be there. He's fine. It's all the rumors that did exist really aren't real. He'll be there, and it'll be.
Mental health is real, man, and I think that's what it comes down to. So you talked about a locker room cancer, and that's why I want to talk about my number 16th guy. My number 16th, baby. Jarvis Juice Landry, 2 Browns right here. He's going as the 4th pick in the 6th round, wide receiver 27. Here's a guy that I'm much higher on than most, but I feel people are going to start boosting him up a little bit now. Well, yeah, because he's on Hard Knocks, and he gave a intense speech, and now you have Josh Gordon not showing up to camp. So yeah, he's going to get boosted up a little bit. He's a definite PPR target of mine. The thing is about Landry is he is consistent, and I like him with Tyrod. I like him with Baker. I really think that Landry, at the end of the day, he's just going to be the guy that's there. And I think we're both under the belief that Tyrod's going to be the quarterback, especially right away.
He is.
Tyrod's going to take what's there, and Landry is the guy that's always there. Landry is going to be that guy. Landry, therefore, is a target of mine. I think he's a steal right now in the 6th round. As the 27th wide receiver, I don't think you can get that kind of value any lower than that. That's unbelievable.
See, I couldn't disagree more with everybody's take on this, but Tyrod Taylor is way more inaccurate. He wants to push the ball downfield. That's where he's most successful. When he had Sammy Watkins healthy, Sammy Watkins actually played really well because Tyrod Taylor wants to push it downfield. When he's throwing it in between those numbers or in the 10-yard, 12-yard area, where Jarvis is going to be running around, he's not as accurate. He's not as good. I think he's going to struggle, and I don't think you're going to see Landry be as fruitful as it was in Miami. Because he did have guys that could throw kind of shorter, and obviously Jay Cutler is just kind of locked in on him, and so did Tannehill. But that's not Tyrod's game. I personally don't think it's Tyrod's game. He doesn't read as well over the middle. He's not as accurate over the middle. He's more likely to push it downfield, and that's why I like Josh Gordon so much, because he's the person more similar to Sammy Watkins, who's the most successful wide receiver he's ever had. You never really, you never saw him like really succeed with like a Robert Woods or anybody like that, because that's just not his jam right there.
Tell
he
you what,
likes to push it downfield.
It's going to be interesting.
Tight ends, obviously.
Yeah, well, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see, man. Like, I'm not a huge Brown supporter, and they've won one game over the last 2 years, but man, I'm excited to watch that team this year. I don't know if it's the Hard Knocks effect or what it is, but
no, I was excited before that.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Landry. Can't talk me out of him. There's a little bias there, obviously, but I've got 2 more guys that we didn't talk about yet. We'll try to get through these here real quick. Number 15, I've got Alshon Jeffrey. He's going as the 12th pick in the 4th round, wide receiver 20. I think that's properly ranked. I actually think I'm a little bit high on him. I think that this is a guy that's going to drop in my rankings as T.Y. Hilton jumps up. Mm-hmm. So, problem with Alshon last year was he was super TD dependent in fantasy. He never topped 100 yards in a single game. He actually caught less than half of his targets, and he was targeted 120 times. So you'd like to see that conversion rate be quite a bit higher. I'd be nervous to take Alshon in fantasy this year because I see him being a TD recession guy and a guy that relies on touchdowns. You don't definitely want a recession there. I think he's talented. I think he can get it done. But I'm going to be dropping him, and I'm probably passing on him come draft day.
Yeah. Look, Alshon Jeffrey is what he is. He gets injured every year. He's off the field a few times. That should drop him for you. But the guy I want in that offense at wide receiver is Nelson Aguilar, who's going in the 10th round.
Yeah.
I favor him much more, and I think he's going to be a monster because he started to show that with Carson Wentz when he was there. Good burst, great route running. He's just one of those guys that can he does the similar thing to what Odell does, where he just cuts off of one leg. Like, lots of the guys you see the shuffle and turn. He does this, like, really quick, like, one, just put the foot in the ground and cut out of your route.
Yeah.
Which I think is just a crazy athletic ability to do. He's an exciting guy for me and a guy that I'm going to be targeting. And Alshon is just, I mean, you said his numbers right there from last year. And his inconsistency is not somebody I get overly excited about. I mean, I don't know. Well, there's not a lot of people in that offense, and I have Carson Wentz as my number 2 quarterback, so I've got to. Maybe I'm being too like. Who else is going to catch the ball if I have him that high? Maybe I'm too low on Alshon Jeffrey, but somebody else has got to pop.
Yeah, I think you're probably a little bit low on him, but I see what you're saying there, and I agree with you. I'd rather have Aguilar in like the 9th or 10th, whatever, than Alshon in the 4th or 5th. I'm with you on that one for sure. One last guy I've got here is my 13th ranked guy. That's Tyreek. I noticed you didn't talk about him.
No, I'm surprised you did.
I know. I actually have him I have him at 13. He's the 8th pick in the 3rd round, wide receiver 12. I have to say this, it's probably an appropriate ADP, but I'm passing on him for sure in the 3rd round. Like you, I'm a little bit hesitant on the Chiefs offense this year in general. I would take Watkins later compared to Hill in the 3rd. And a wide receiver in the 3rd may potentially be your wide receiver number 1 if you go running back. So I would hate Tyreek Hill as my wide receiver 1. He's just not consistent enough for me on a week-to-week basis. He's obviously, the way he plays, his style of play, he's going to have boom weeks, especially with Pat Mahomes. But you can't talk to me into him right now at his current ADP. I want him to struggle so bad this year. I want his ADP to come back to real life next year, and I want him in 2019. Then I can jump on his bandwagon.
If you know me, I've talked about Tyreek Hill. I've talked about the Chiefs offense. I already did today. And if you listen to the past, I have. I'm going to bounce back to the Eagles because I'm looking at the receivers. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's Aguilar and Mike Wallace and Alshon Jeffrey, so I should probably actually vault Jeffrey up a little bit more if I think Carson Wentz is going to be quarterback number 2.
Yeah, you got Zach Ertz. It just
doesn't make any sense, for me not to have hit Alshon Jeffrey higher if I think Wentz is going to be that good.
Yeah, you're probably a little bit too low on him, but yeah.
Obviously, Zach Ertz is going to be really good, but
I just could not believe that he caught under 50% of his targets, and he was targeted 120 times, and he never had over 100 receiving yards in a single game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Super touchdown dependent, so a little nervous there.
I mean, Zach Ertz is going to put up good numbers. I mean, he's going to be a top 3 to 5 tight end.
Right.
So obviously he's going to be a target monster. Now they have this new Goddard guy. They like to use their 2 tight ends with Aguilar and Wallace out there. I do think you're going to see an uptick in Mike Wallace as well, but I should probably prop up Alshon a little bit more than
Well,
that.
we got a little bit of time left before our final rankings come out, so you can ponder that. I think that should wrap it up. What do you think?
I'm done.
All right. Well, as always, tweet any questions you'd like answered on the podcast at LoadedBox. Check out our website. It's loadedboxpodcast.com for our latest blogs, our fantasy rankings, our podcasts. We have everything there. Our next episode, we'll be talking our top-tier wide receivers. We'll be getting into wide receivers 1 through 12. Reminder, if you haven't yet, get qualified to win that Odell Beckham Jr. signed mini helmet. And we're available on iTunes. Search Loaded Box, subscribe, rate, and review, and DJ, send us away.
Bye.